My name is Jolie, and my presentation is about Dorothy Vaughan and her great contributions towards math and engineering. Dorothy was born on September 20th, 1910, in Kansas City, Missouri. Ever since she was a little child, she was very gifted and very smart. She even graduated from her high school class at the age of only 15 years old. Dorothy stuck with the books, and she actually decided to graduate from college with her BA in mathematics at the age of only 19 years old. This shows us how great and gifted she really was. Dorothy first started her career at Robert Rosa Bowen High School in Farmville, VA, as a math teacher. She then moved herself and her family to Newport News, Virginia, to start working at NACA in 1943. So, since this was the 1940s, there was still segregation, unfortunately, going on. So the times were starting to change with the Executive Order 8802 that was established by Franklin D. Roosevelt. The Executive Order 8802 banned discrimination in any employment offices that are federal, any companies involved with the war, and all of the unions. During the Executive Order 8802, many women went to work as World War II was drafting men between the ages of 21 and 45. So that meant that wives, mothers, and teens all were able to work masculine type jobs since they had to pay their own bills as well. So it did help women out. Since all men of ages 21 and 45, even many engineers were being drafted, NACA had decided to hire many females to work there. The Executive Order 8802 required NACA to also hire women of color if they had the correct qualifications. The Executive Order 8802 really helped businesses so that they wouldn't go out of business because they were losing many workers, and I'm sure sales would have gone down if women couldn't have been able to step in for their men. NACA actually stands for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. They had to deal with sending satellites to space. Dorothy started her career at NACA as a regular working human computer, they would call it, in the West Area Computers Unit at Langley Research Center. After a few years of hard work from Dorothy, she actually made NACA history and was promoted to be the first woman manager of color. So, actually, the West Area Computers Unit was only women of color because bathrooms, dining halls, and work areas had to be separate from white counterparts. So being a manager, Dorothy actually was given some privileges, and she was able to work with other people from other departments. She actually had more access to people like Vera Huckle. Vera Huckle and her worked with other people and used their collaborations from others to create a book of mathematical computations such as algebraic methods for calculating machines. So Dorothy, of course, did not like segregation like all of us. She always felt like she would have the need to stand up for other people too, especially when someone deserved like a raise or a promotion. She would always stand up for that person. She stated, "I changed what I could, and what I couldn't, I endured." So she tried to change what she could, and what she couldn't, she had to deal with it, basically. There was also another quote which I really liked about her. This one states, "Separate and equal are two different things. Just because it's the way doesn't make it right. You act right, you are right." So that's pretty much saying that you should be treated the way that you, based on the way that you act, not based on what you look like. There was a whole bunch of transitions and contributions that were going on during this time too. NACA actually became NASA in 1958, which I thought was pretty cool that NACA actually turned into NASA. Dorothy knew that new technologies and new computers would take over many people's jobs. Since technologies were constantly advancing, Dorothy made it a mission to teach herself and her peers about Fortran so that they would be ready. Fortran is a program language and was used for scientific and engineering applications in NASA. Dorothy actually went on and was known as the mother of Fortran, since she was so involved in it and knew so much about it. Vaughan's knowledge in Fortran helped contribute to future successful space launches too. Dorothy and her team used exact computations to help the Scout vehicle launch program be successful. The program launches a 385-pound satellite into a 500-mile orbit. Without Dorothy, this program could have possibly failed. In Dorothy's later life, she was still working at NASA, and she always sought for another promotion, but unfortunately never received one, even though she had great contributions. Vaughan then went on and retired from working at NASA in 1971. Before her retirement, she made a whole bunch of friends. She even made friends with Katherine Johnson, who was another great mathematician of her time. After Dorothy's death in 2008, a movie was released called Hidden Figures, and it talked about her life, her personal life, and it talks about herself and many others' experience working at NACA, also known as NASA now. She also received the Congressional Gold Medal in 2019 for all of her great contributions. Dorothy also has a crater on the moon named after her too. It's called the Vaughan. An overview of Dorothy would be, without Dorothy and her great contributions, the Scout launch vehicle program might have failed due to inaccuracy. The ladies of the West Area Computing Unit may have lost their jobs due to computers advancing. Without Dorothy, many would have had a hard time transitioning to fast-paced computers. With Dorothy's help, the ladies were ready for the future and their new transition for Fortran. Thank you guys for listening.